Hi everyone, it's Grace and welcome back to another video. Today I am doing a subset of a video that I have been thinking about doing, which is going through my physical TBR. And I'm including ebooks in this. Basically, when I say my physical TBR, what I mean is books that I own in some form or another, and not just books that I want to read, but like books that are in my possession. And this would be an extremely large job. So what I've thought about doing is breaking it up. And today what I'm going to do is go through all of the YA books that are on my shelves. So I have, I believe, 13 of them on this list, and a lot of those are like first installments in series. So when you think about the potential, there are more books because of the sequels and things, but these are the ones that I actually have and the ones that I am looking forward to getting to. Now I'm going to start off with the standalones because there are fewer of those and the vast majority of these are actually series, because God knows I need to start more series. But the first one that I have is a book that I have on Kindle, and that is House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. And this is, I think it's a retelling of something, but I'm not sure what. But basically you have 12 sisters and their parents that live in a house by the sea, and the sisters start mysteriously dying, and I think that their family is cursed somehow, and the main character is trying to figure out and piece together what it is that's happening to her sisters and whether it's going to happen to her as well and their entire family. So this has very creepy vibes, I've heard, and I think that this is very much like YA gothic fantasy, and I'm really intrigued by the tone and the fact that it seems a little bit more mature, even though it still fits in the YA category, and I think that it would be a really interesting one, especially because it's a standalone. Then next up in standalones we have Warrior of the Wild by Trisha Levenseller, and this is one that I have been wanting to get to for a really long time. I was really excited about it when I bought it, and I really don't know why I haven't yet, but the concept of this book is that you have our main character has been banished for failing some sort of warrior trial when she comes of age, and in this world, when you're banished, you're basically given an impossible task and told, when you complete this, you are able to rejoin society, with the express purpose of the fact that your banishment won't ever end because these tasks are meant to be impossible. And so the idea here is that I think a bunch of people who have been exiled band together to work together to complete their tasks so that then they can go rejoin their societies. So this just sounds really heartwarming and really I don't know, a really interesting concept where you are having a found family and really working together, and I hope that it has a happy ending. This whole book just gives me good vibes, so it's really appealing to me, and hopefully I will read it soon. Next up, we have Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik, and this one, every time I read the blurb, I can't quite remember exactly what the plot is, but essentially our main character Miriam is her family are money lenders, and that's what her parents do, and I think that they get into financial trouble and she tries to take matters into her own hands, and there's definitely some magic going on here because she gets a reputation for being able to turn silver into gold that draws attention to her from the Tsar, I think, and there's something about her kingdom and another kingdom being intertwined in this story, and the fates of both of them resting on her or something like that. And this is since this is a standalone, I don't want to know too much about it because the story is all in here. There's no additional volumes. So that kind of brief synopsis is enough for me. I think it sounds really interesting. And then another thing is that this has a blurb on it from Catherine Arden, and since I loved the Winter Night trilogy so much, her word on a book that, in my opinion, seems like it has similar vibes means a lot to me, and definitely means that I look at this and think that I probably will enjoy it. So I've had this on my shelf for a while, and I really want to get to it, so hopefully soon. This one is a little bit longer though, so I might end up reading one of the other standalones first. Okay, so now we are going to get into series, because like I said, the vast majority of these YA books that I have on my TBR are series. So again, I am going to start with the ones that I have on my Kindle, and the first of those is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and this is the first in, I believe, a duology of the same name. It's called These Violent Delights, and this one interests me because it is a YA Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920s Shanghai, where you have two like gang families that are rivals. And I mean, we all know how it goes in a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but the thing that really interests me about this is not only the setting, but the fact that there is some magic here, that basically there is some sort of curse or monster or something that is causing people to claw their own throats out. And the two gangs basically have to band together to solve this mystery, figure out what is causing this, and stop it from happening, because it's affecting both of them. So I really love that kind of like enemies to forced partnership type of vibe, and I think that I'll really enjoy that one. And I just think that like the setting and everything about it is going to be different from most things that I've read, so it's really appealing to me. Next up is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer, which is the first book in a trilogy which I am pretty sure is called the Curse Breakers trilogy, and I might be wrong about that, but I just don't remember the name of the series right now. But this is the first in a trilogy, and it is portal fantasy, where our main character is transported to like a Beauty and the Beast retelling like type of setting. And I don't really know that much more about it than that, to be honest, but it just sounds appealing. Apparently the first book in this one is the best, and then the second and third are not as good. That's what I've often heard. So this one, like, while it sounds fun, it maybe is a little bit lower on my list, just because there are others that I have heard better things about from the series as a whole. Next up, and the first of my physical series books, is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and this is a world that I have read from before. I started with the Six of Crows duology. I read that back in about 2017. I should reread it one of these days, honestly. And then I read King of Scars, but based on the reception of Rule of Wolves, I have not picked that up. But I thought, like, it would be nice to go back in time in this world and pick up the original trilogy, especially because of the TV show, which I have not watched yet, because I'm usually just someone who wants to read the book first, and I tend to not get caught up in like the hype with TV shows. I watched Wheel of Time at the time that it was airing, but for the most part, I try to avoid the first wave of hype because it overwhelms me to try and watch things at the same pace that everybody else is, and to try and keep up with like the thoughts and reviews that are coming in. That type of thing just kind of it overwhelms me. That's exactly what it does. So I will get to this at some point, and then I will watch the show, and that's what I'm looking forward to, because I think it's going to be fun. I think that this world is cool, I like the magic, and I know that this might be weaker than the Six of Crows duology, but I think I'm prepared to enjoy it for what it is. Next up, we have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and this is the book series where there are multiple Londons. This is sort of like parallel versions of the city of London. Some of them are magical, some of them are not. There is a Black London that is mysterious and no one talks about it anymore, and we follow a traveler named Kel. I was gonna say Del. We follow Kel, who is one of the last people who can actually travel between the Londons. And I think that he meets someone in one of the Londons that like throws things into chaos, and then there's a magical war going on in one of the Londons, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. For the popularity of V.E. Schwab, I surprisingly just don't know that much about this series, but I am the type of person, as I've said before, that likes to go into a book knowing less, so the concept is intriguing enough, and I do know that I like V.E. Schwab, so that's enough for me. Next up, we have Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim, and this is the first in a duology, and this is basically the story of a man who is a tailor, and there is a competition to be, I think it's like the greatest dressmaker, and it's a royal summons for people to compete. But the main character's father is not able to travel. I think that he's sick, and so she has to disguise herself as a boy in order to go and compete in this competition. And that's a trope that I really like. I really like a hidden identity. That's always been something that I've enjoyed. So I think that this would be really fun. It sounds like there'd be a lot of like shenanigans involved, and given the fact that this is just a duology and it's also short, like that appeals to me because it seems like this could just be like a whirlwind fun story that I could pick up and be able to immerse myself in, and then that's it. So yeah, and also I really love the cover of these books, like this one in particular, and then Unravel the Dusk has just as nice of a cover, so it's always nice to look at on the shelf. Next up, we have Tokyo Ever After by Amiko Jean, and this is a retelling of the Princess Diaries. I don't know if it's a direct retelling, but it's definitely got Princess Diaries vibes because we have our Japanese-American main character who really doesn't feel like she fits. She lives in California, and you have this struggle of her either feeling like she doesn't quite fit in with American culture, but also feeling like she doesn't quite fit in with Japanese culture either. And then she finds out the hidden identity of her father, who I think is a Japanese prince, and, you know, like shenanigans ensue from there. The Princess Diaries is an absolute classic, so I'm really excited to read this because it just sounds like it will be a very fun and sweet and like good vibes story. Like, I don't know, I feel like I'm already rooting for this main character and I haven't even opened the book yet. So this is also part of a series, at least that's what it says on Goodreads. I don't know anything about additional books in this series yet, but this is a pretty recent release, so I don't know. But for now, like, this is part of a series, but I'm just looking forward to picking this one up, reading it, and then seeing how it fares as a standalone. So next up, we have Blood Like Magic by Lisel Sambury, and this, first of all, this is a Canadian author, which is amazing, and the second book in this series, I believe, is either out or coming out, which was actually very quick because this only came out last year in the summer. But this series, this book at least, follows our main character, Voya Thomas, who has been waiting to complete her calling when she comes of age as a witch, but she fails it. So the like Supreme Council of Witches, or whatever it actually is called, gives her another chance to like complete a task, but this time the stakes are that she has to complete it or else her entire family will lose their magic, and her task is to kill her first love. And so there's a few problems with this, the main one being that she doesn't have a first love. So basically she has to find someone to fall in love with and then she has to kill him, which is just like, I said this when I initially talked about this book last year, I love that concept. I think that it sounds so compelling for a plot. So I am really looking forward to this. The cover is gorgeous. The fact that the next book wouldn't be a long wait to pick up also helps. But this one is a little bit chunkier than some of the others, although that could just be a matter of like pages and font. But I really want to, like, I don't know. This, again, is, I believe she's actually a Toronto author, not even just Canadian, and so I definitely want to support her. I've supported her by buying the book right away, but of course I want to actually read the book and like it too, so I'm really excited about this. Next up, we have Legendborn by Tracy Dion, and this is a, like, Arthurian retelling, if I'm remembering correctly. So this is the story of a girl named Bree who, like, She seems a little young, but I think she goes to university at the start of this story. Okay, so I just checked. She goes to a special program for high schoolers in a different place. So she is younger, but she basically, I think, witnesses something on her very first few nights on campus there, and she finds out about these magical societies, and she gets involved in the undercurrent of things that are going on beneath the surface at this school. And this sounds really cool to me. The cover, well, I love the cover, but the cover gives me cool magic vibes, and I don't know, I was really excited about this book at one point, so I think I just need to rekindle my desire to read it, because I don't know, I need to know one way or the other, because again, this is part of a series and this is continuing. So I would really like to know whether or not this is going to be something that I want to pursue. Next up is one that I have recently become more excited about again, and that is The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. And I think it's because Angela describes this as being a school setting and a cozy fantasy setting, and the concept of the book seems really cool to me, which is basically that there's these creatures of the forest, or these magical spirits or something, that can live in harmony with humans, but they also sometimes are a danger, so the queen is able to keep them in check. But if something happens to the queen, then humans might be in danger, and I think that that's kind of the whole premise. So I'm not sure if the school setting is to decide who is worthy to be next in line to be queen. I honestly don't remember, but the cozy fantasy vibes meshing with this cool forest concept just sound really appealing, and this book's pretty short too, and I think this is only part of a trilogy. So I would really like to pick this up soon. I'm genuinely considering doing a dedicated YA TBR month, but I haven't decided on that yet. I'm gonna start trying to slide these into my regular TBRs, I think. And then finally, the very last book on my shelves for YA is Blade of Secrets, also by Trisha Levenseller, just like Warrior of the Wild from earlier. And this one is part of a series, which is why it's in this section. And this is basically the story of a blacksmith, or a weapons crafts person, who she is given a commission from a man to make a magical weapon that is able to steal people's secrets if it's used on them. And she basically realizes how dangerous such a weapon would be, especially in the hands of someone that may want to use it for evil. And so I think that she takes her family and she flees, and the plot ensues. That's the setup, which sounds really interesting to me. The thought that this is set in a world where such magical weapons can actually be crafted and people can have the power to do those things sounds really interesting. And I don't know, both of Trisha Levenseller's books, they're short and they just seem to have a really punchy hook to their plot, so I really need to get to them soon because I am so looking forward to reading them. So that is it. That is I still think it was 13. I didn't count them, but that is it for the YA books that I actually have on my physical TBR. So let me know in the comments what you think. If you've read these, let me know what you think I should prioritize based on what you think I would like. Let me know if you think there's something here that you really don't think I'm gonna like, and I would love to hear from you, love to chat with you. So I really hope that you liked this video. Please like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more content from me. I post new videos every Monday and Thursday, and as always, I will have information about Discord linked in the description below, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!